so big. I'll grab tonight. How you guys doing? Turn this down a bit. All right, let's start. Can you hear me? Ruby, Ruby, Ruby. Let me know if you can hear me or not. Hello, everybody. I hope everybody is well. Yeah. So before I get into it, just let me know in the comments if you can hear me well. I think we should be okay. Yeah, let me know. And then we'll jump into it, and then we'll do a little Q&A. So I hope everybody is well. Let's see what we got. Good evening, Kevin. How are ya? Good, good. Hello, Marco from Ukraine. Hey, Anissa, how are ya? Yo. All right, good. Indeed, of course. I'm good. I'm very good. I hope everything is good with you. Your mic is on. Good. All right, so it's okay. It sounds good. Okay, good. Crystal clear. All right, I'm good. I hope everybody is well. Thanks for coming to the stream. So let's just jump into it, and then we'll do a little Q&A. So somebody asked me about the Carbon programming language. I don't have much to say about it right now because it's such a new thing, but I'll just give you my quick 2 cents. If you guys know me, you know what I'm going to say about the Carbon programming language. Let's just jump into it. So, pulling up this piece on Medium, Google's new programming language called Carbon. Google introduced Carbon as a successor to C++. Anyway, I won't, you can look at the URL right here if you want to go look at it. Essentially, the guy talks about how languages have had replacements. So he talked about how, let's see, well, Swift in Apple World replaced Objective-C. Kotlin is kind of the new Java. TypeScript, the successor of JavaScript, et cetera, et cetera. So Carbon is basically Google's new language, and it's hopefully, well, Google's hope is that it will replace C++ at some point. So there's an official GitHub page you go check out, of course, right here. There it is. It's open source, so you can check it out if you want. You know, C++ has a very particular use case. It's a general purpose language, very highly performant, very fast, but it's a lot of work to get anything done in C++. The speed will cost you time. So I think what they're trying to do with Carbon here is they're trying to find a happy medium between, well, to get C++ speed without C++ overhead and problems. That's pretty much it. So would I jump into it right away? Probably not. Maybe take a look at it if you want, if you're really concerned. Are there going to be any jobs in Carbon right away? No, I really doubt it. If Carbon takes off, it will probably take at least 4 or 5 years before it gets anywhere. So it's not something to jump into. If you're new to my my channel and what I talk about, I'm very, very oriented towards the practical in my coding. I am language agnostic, language neutral. For me, languages are just tools. Carbon potentially is just a tool. But when you evaluate different programming languages, you got to evaluate more than just the language. You have to look at the economic environment around it, the deployment environment around it. So I would imagine with Carbon, they're going to create all these hooks so that you can integrate Carbon code with C++ code without any work. If they don't do that, then they're not going to have any problem. Then they're not going to have any traction. So I'm sure they'll have a try. They will make that attempt. I'm sure. I don't know much more about it than that, except it's just cutting edge, bleeding edge, just released very recently. So it's not something I'll be jumping into right away. Again, if you want to read what this guy has to say, it's very light on the language itself. I just highlighted the URL there. So let's see what some of the people comment, what some of the comments are from the people in the chat. Yes, first of all, yeah. Hit the like button. Love your show. Amazing. Thanks. Appreciate it. Let's see what Marco has to say. Is there a chance to make your theme song downloadable? I really like it. Or publish it on Spotify or something. Good vibes. You know, I've had people ask me that many times. I'll make it downloadable. It's something I put together specifically for this show. I wanted to have my own music so that it's mine. But I'll put it out there. Yeah, sure. Thanks. I'm glad you like it. Thank you. I trust this one. Uncle Stef. I want to build my career from scratch, making own software tools. Got many. Can't jump too many languages for each idea. So what? Oh, here we go. Could you guide me for a better path to finding such knowledge for creating own tools, best efficient language? Tell me where I can seek a book of Vishanti for that. Well, I think first thing you have to do is write some software. So you understand software. And then once you've written some software, taken it to production, then you'll be in a very good position to kind of figure out, what tools you would need or you think would help for you. And that way you can make a judgment call. So I don't know what level of coder you are at this point, so it's hard for me to say. But yeah, first, before you try to improve any technology, you have to kind of jump in to see what's there now. And then you can, based on what you know, you can make improvements accordingly. You can upgrade what it is you see out there. Hey, how are you, man? Hey, Scotty, welcome to stream, everybody. If you like live streams, give me a thumbs up. They dropped Golang already? No, they did not. I'm not sure what the thinking is behind Carbon vis-a-vis versus Golang. Um, who knows? Do they say it's going to be faster in C++? I do not know. They say it's going to be as fast or in the realms of C++, as far as I understand. But it's still very early. The reason I'm doing this video, because somebody asked me to do the video, hey, can you talk about this? I put as much weight into these things as I feel that they deserve at this time. Who knows? Maybe Carbon will be the best thing since sliced bread inside of X amount of years. I don't know. But it's not something I'll be jumping into right away. So there you go. That's my comment on Carbon. Wow, 14 minutes. Well, it's actually not 14. But anyway, let's go on. Now I'm opening up the floor to questions. If you have any questions, you feel free to ask. Why is PHP still so cool and useful even in 2022? PHP, as I like to say, PHP is the pornography of the programming world, in that nobody wants to admit to it, but it seems to be used quite a bit. PHP, if you look in terms of server-side, let me underline that. Server-side programming languages, PHP is, I think, the most dominant. Probably because of WordPress and mostly because of WordPress and content management systems like WordPress and Drupal. But PHP is just huge. And the PHP community, as I say, they feel always under threat. They're always criticized, so they've been working really hard. So, for example, PHP 8 is highly performant, enterprise ready. All of the things that PHP gets hit for is people are looking at PHP from 15 years ago. They still think it's the same. It's very different today. What are your thoughts on the Zig programming language? I have never heard of Zig. Programming languages, they come and go, like there's so many out there. And I'd be surprised if Carbon gains more traction than Rust has in that area. I would agree with that. Will it be necessary to rewrite the code from C++ to Carbon in the future? Probably not. I can tell you one thing. C++ over the next 20 years is not going anywhere. Any of the top 10 languages today, C, C++, Java, JavaScript, PHP, what am I missing? Python, C#, they're not going anywhere anytime soon. Double leg takedown, lateral or straight. Depends on the position, man. Depends on the position. Love your content. Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. Thanks for joining the stream, guys. Appreciate the thumbs if you like the live streams. Can Laravel and PHP keep up with the new Zoomer tech? I would imagine so. I think Laravel itself, definitely PHP. Laravel probably, because Laravel I think is the predominant PHP framework. They could mess it up, but it's got a lot of traction. So when something gets so much traction, it's really hard to replace, you know? Really hard to replace. I just accepted a senior software engineer and the company wants me to learn Slim framework with PHP. Do you have any opinions on Slim? Wow. Well, if that's what the job demands, learn Slim. I never used it, but obviously they like it. So, given the productivity advantages, do you think a flow-based IDE that spits out C++ would take off if someone develops it? That I don't know. That's a very interesting question. I don't have an answer for that. What you think about magic that happens on many frameworks? I've seen this have been a problem for large projects, especially for new devs. Any framework without such as magic. Love from Greece. All the magic. Well, yes. Listen, frameworks are cool. You know, you have to evaluate frameworks for the job at hand. For example, Microsoft technologies work very, very well if you're using and interfacing with other Microsoft products. If you go outside of that, things can fall down really quickly. Now again, this opinion is based on my previous experience with Microsoft going back a long time. Where Microsoft is really strong, in my opinion, is their code editors and IDEs. They're really, really good at doing that. VS Code, Visual Studio Code, for example. Oh, I forgot Ruby. I don't think Ruby's in the. I don't think Ruby is in the top 20. It might be in the top 20. It's definitely not in the top 10. How's the weather there? It's kind of gloomy. It's not the most exciting weather today. Sorry if this was mentioned, but any thoughts on Rust and use for NFTs? No, I'm not a Rust programmer. I heard it's super cool. People like it a lot, but apparently it's hard to learn. And because it's hard to learn, I think it will stay in the niche as a result. In terms of how its application in the NFT space, don't know. I think Carbon is a necessary cleanup tool for so many legacy C++ code bases. C++ legacy code is the only language I can't comprehend. I don't get why there are prefixes to variables everywhere. A good friend of mine does a lot of C++ coding, and he's been doing it for many years. And he said, what was it he told me? He said, if you have a problem that can only be fixed with C++, better to have the problem. That's his quote, not mine. But it's funny. A question that always hit my mind: how do all the previous coders build software from scratch, as they didn't have these sources today? Well, back in the 90s, I used to go buy books. Back in the 90s, there was the web and the internet, but the information was really not nearly as easily accessible today. Today, the problem is that we have so much information. So people getting into the game who are new to development or many other fields, there's so much information. It's really hard to filter out what's necessary, what's not necessary. Yeah. Well, they to answer your question, they just learn by building things. The best way to learn how to do anything is to do it. If you want to learn how to code, code. You want to learn how to fight, fight. Hello, hey, how are you, Anon? Hope everything is well. I appreciate you as well. Andy Smart says, I have learned a ton over the years. Very good. I guess from me. Andy Smart is intelligent, so I hear. Keith, have you done any program with regards to ERP system like SAP? And what do you think of the future? I have not done personally. I know friends who manage these things. The future is going to be there for a long time because there's so much invested in these huge systems that companies will not want to get rid of them for as long as they don't have to. So I think you'd be fine to get into that area. Finished, shipped, and got paid for my first web shop today. It was made with WooCommerce. I feel so accomplished. Hey, congratulations, Project. Let's give everybody a congratulations to Project Rights for his first paid gig. That's the best gig, and it's the hardest gig. They just get easier and more fun and more lucrative as you continue. All right. I feel if I can understand what happens behind the whole syntax, I can write any software. What is your opinion? And how can I reach that level? Thanks. Well, at one point, you're going to get pretty good. You reach that level by building stuff. Just build stuff. But as you build and build and build and build, you get more and more competent. Then you realize the amount of coding technology that is out there, the amount of options that you have out there is just huge. And it's just growing and growing and growing and growing and growing. And then you realize you'll never know everything. So what you do is you concentrate on your fundamentals, and then the fundamentals of language, and you get into refactoring, and you get into design patterns, and then you learn on a need to nerd basis, and then you learn to let go of having to try to understand everything, because it's literally an impossibility over time. I've completed Java DSA for placement. What should I do next for Microsoft job? I guess get into C#, if I understand your question. What is your favorite JS front-end framework? Right now, probably Vue. What do you think about Dart programming language coupled with Flutter? I haven't used it. I looked at Flutter when it first came out. I liked it. Seems to be pretty good. It's not taking the web by storm. But you take a look. Again, always base things on jobs and opportunity and what you like as well, What is your favorite back-end language? Well, when I was freelancing back in the day, it was Java. I even developed my own MVC framework in Java. These days, my first choice for backend is probably PHP for a bunch of reasons, although I could go PHP, JavaScript, or Python. But all the languages have good pros and cons, Will GPT AI coding make human coders obsolete in the near future? No. Long before AI replaces software development and coding, it will replace drivers, truck drivers, accountants, so many other professions. So I wouldn't be too concerned. Long before it gets to that, all those other professions will disappear. What else do we got here? Oh, do I support Trump? I'm Canadian. Brooks Builds channel has extensive Rust examples. Awesome stuff. There you go. I got a little late to the party, but do you think Carbon will be adopted as the main Google engineering framework as C#? Too early to tell. Too early to tell. New tech is always built on top of old tech. That's how it works in everything, really. This is true. Should I use Bootstrap to build my portfolio? Why not? Bootstrap's cool. What to do? I'm 17. I am a Python and Django developer. Should I start working or keep getting knowledge in machine learning? Well, I would get a job if you can. Start getting. The most important thing is you get in the ring. The most important thing is you start actually doing something real. Do something real. So yeah, then you can learn a little ML on the side. But the most important thing to do is you want to get a job as quickly as possible, because that's when you really start to learn. Would advice be different for getting a full-time job from freelancing with real clients as opposed to college? Dropped out and started freelancing but wanted a real job for a bit. If you develop a good freelancing portfolio, bunch of clients you've done, that will open the doors for getting a real job. There we go. Welcome. Yeah, I learned so much from you. Been watching your channel for 4 years. Wow, that's cool. Well, thanks for watching, man. I'm glad I was able to help, and I'm glad you've learned a lot. Yeah, what I'm trying to do with my courses and the live streams and my mentoring program, I'm essentially transferring my decades of experience to you guys. You can take what you want. I talk about coding and professionalism. I talk about psychology, finance, business, all these different things, all from personal experience. Take it or leave it. It's up to you. I'm trying to save you 10, 20, 30 years. Do you still code program today, Stef? If so, what has you been up to lately? No, I don't program these days. I have people code for me. I run Studioweb.com, which is a SaaS product that is used by schools today. And I also have my mentoring program, UncleStef.com. At some point in your career as a developer, you have to decide if you're going to go into management or not. And if you go into management, you won't have time to code. So I made that choice. So I miss it sometimes, but I did it for many, many years. So I was ready to move on. I can't decide buying the entrepreneur course or the mentoring program. I definitely intend to work in a web development after years in IT on-site sports. Salesman suggestions. Well, the entrepreneur course is included in the mentoring program. Basically, you get the mentoring program from me, UncleStef.com. You get everything, plus a bunch of custom stuff that's not released to the public. So you may want to check into that. Based on your answer for Abby's question, so many information, now kind of overwhelming, confusing. Could you tell me how to find the right source path that lead to follow up if you do projects I follow? Yeah, just watch my YouTube videos. You see I talk a lot about these things. I have nearly 2,000 videos, I think, that are public. There's a lot of information in there. I don't think there's even one video of me pushing cats into bathtubs or, so it's all information packed, and you learn a lot there. If you want the full Stef experience, check out unclestef.com. I got my bootcamp links below if you want to learn from me in that way. Would learning JavaScript for both front and back end be a good idea? Is there a better language to learn for back end? That's fine. If you don't want to do it, that's cool. They're all good. How to estimate time it takes to build a project? Well, you have to build that skill. Now, what I have people do is I have a time tracker template I provide. And when you do a couple of free freelance projects, you track your time. And you write down everything. And then what happens is you do that like 2 or 3 times, then you start to really get a feel for how long it takes you to build X, Y, and Z. Any opinion on the languages of the future of security, such as blockchain? I think any of the top 10 languages these days will be around for years and years and years. Congrats to Project Right. Sorry for asking a fair question, sir. Sir, I do not like coding. What drives you to write code and learning new concepts? Thank you again. I don't know. Are you actively coding? Coding is difficult for a lot of people at first, but once you get the hang of it, one day you wake up and you go, oh, I understand this. And then it becomes fun because you become productive. And then when you start building things that do stuff that people use, then that becomes a lot of fun. With the world deglobalizing, what's your opinion on AI opportunities that will meet market needs? It seems like manufacturing is coming back to North America. I think AI, the future of AI is bright. I know 2 people who leverage AI as core. Either it's a support to their business or it's their core business. How it shakes out precisely, I couldn't say. Although from what I've seen now, AI is very specialized. So you have AI will do you have an AI that does this, and you have another AI that does that. Full broad spectrum AI, I think they're years away from that. But yeah, you're right. I think there is a deglobalization, and I think North America is getting manufacturing back. Personally, I think it was a big mistake to, although I debate it sometimes, I think it was a big mistake to move manufacturing off of your out of North America or out of Europe or wherever it happens to be. I think any continent, any country should have a self-sustaining manufacturing base. It just makes sense. Is your Java MSC framework available for public use? Oh, no. That's old. It's old. I retired that framework a long, long time ago. I would use a mainstream framework these days. You don't want to be caught with something that's too nicheified. What's your opinion on consulting versus full-time job? If you got the ability to conversate with people, if you're able to talk to people and you're comfortable doing sales, then consulting could be far, far more lucrative. A full-time job is steady, less headaches. You know what you're going to get your next paycheck. So it's a personality choice. Oh, yeah. Do you think game dev is getting better as a career? I've always thought the game dev is a fun career, but get disturbed by stories of bad work-life balance culture. I don't know. I'm not in the gaming industry. I heard it's could be pretty tough, but I have friends in it and they love it. So just try it out, I did a website, everything from scratch, and I use frameworks now like Tailwind, Vue, Word, Laravel, etc. It depends on the type of work you want to get into. But I would learn at least one framework, just so you get familiar with frameworks. It will help you be a better coder. Yeah. So WordPress is a CMS, not so much a framework. Vue's Tailwind's a framework. Vue's a framework. A library. Laravel's a framework. What do you think of the tall stack? Is it a future of the web? I never heard of it. I doubt it's the future. Was anybody else first time coding on Neopet stores? I'll let the audience answer that. Hey, Uncle Stef, what do you think about mobile development? Will it decrease over time with WebAssembly coming? If not, will native mobile development prefer like you? I've said for several years now that I think native mobile development will diminish a little bit over time because web-based technologies like PWAs and just responsive sites are just becoming more and more performant over time. What's your best method for not burning out? Take breaks. Take breaks. Pace yourself. Take days off, you know. Go out for an hour or two during the day. Take a rest, clear your mind, exercise. How should I improve my programming logic to solve leet code and code chef questions easily? I don't use leet code or code chef. I would just build real projects, man. Start making money. Ruby is the best prog language because it is so slow. You don't need an extra step debugging tool. That's funny. Michael says, I didn't realize it was actually live. Greetings from Poland. Hey, welcome to the show. Thanks for joining. How are we doing with the likes? If you guys don't mind giving me some thumbs up, I would appreciate it. What else? What else? Quick reminder, look up on Indeed. What's this? Indeed, okay. Quick reminder, look up on Indeed, I think he meant to say. You'll be surprised. High demand, also learn to wrestle. Yeah, wrestling's good. Stef, I currently need to make a background program but only run about 2% of the time for the user. Should I spend a lot of time and build it in Rust or build it in fast and C#? If it doesn't need to be highly performant, I would just build it in C# if I were you. That's what I would do. All right, let me, something I always do. My suggested books, I have several others, but these ones I always have at hand. So this is one book I recommend, The Naked Ape. This is going to open your mind about how we exist as humans. Classic book. This is my copy from the pages are all yellow. That's how old this book is. I think I bought this book when I was 14 years old. It was a New York Times bestseller. Anyway, so the couple zoologists study human beings like they would study monkeys, and hence Naked Ape. And it's going to really help give you an insight into our existence as humans. Book suggestion number 1. If you're a total beginner, I have my own book. People like it. Highly reviewed on Amazon. Web Design Start Here. You may want to take a look at that. So that's a book that people like. Total beginner book, though. If you're doing Studioweb, you don't need this, of course, but some people like to read. If you already know how to code and you want to up your game, one thing I recommend all the time is refactoring. Let's see if we can get it to focus on here. Come on, focus. All right. So refactoring, very important. This is the Java version. There's links below. There's JavaScript and there's a Java version. This is how to clean up code in a very structured way. You do this book, you'll up your coding game regardless of the language. And then, yeah, some music suggestions. So, for people like psychedelic music, this is one of the best albums of all time. Jimi Hendrix, Electric Ladyland, highly recommend. Great album. If you don't know Jimi Hendrix, this is of course vinyl. I was a vinyl nerd at one point, not so much anymore. So that's my recommended album for people who want to rock out, want psychedelic. You want to get into old school jazz, there's an album for you. Dizzy Gillespie, Kush. This is a live album, Philharmonic, pretty big. So you might want to try that out. This is a Japanese vinyl pressing. You know that's good. You got this Obi thing here. Japanese vinyls, by the way, are most highly sought after by audiophile nerds for sound quality. There you go. Those are my suggestions of today. Is it possible to have a language as fast as C, as easy as to use as Python, and have all the advantages of Java, Swift, and PHP? Swift is really, really fast, apparently. So you might want to look at Swift if that's interesting to you. When was the last thing you coded since you miss it so much? Do you not code for fun here and there? Occasionally I pop something open. It's just so busy these days. What was the last thing? It's been a while, man. There's probably something I did in Java. It's been years since I professionally coded, you know. I've popped in, I do some Python once in a while, you know, but nothing to get excited about. Carbon is the new Kotlin for C++, right? Well, that's what they're saying, yeah, in the article. What advice do you have for studying companies' messy code bases if they don't give you a code walkthrough? See if you can talk to one of the developers and just tackle some of the easy to access libraries and take it from there. Good luck with that. What advice do you have for a brand new developer who's starting their career as Java backend engineer? Well, get to know people and slowly jump into the code base and see what the code is like. And, you know, just ask questions, not too many though. Stef, when you are trying to explain a project in an interview, would it be good when you create that project to have somewhere to document what all you had to do in that project? Yeah, if you say I did this, you should say what you did in this, right? So if you're involved in a web app and you implemented all the CRUD's operations, and mention that. Or if you did the React implementation, mention that. I have to bail. Thanks for the content. Keep it coming. No problem. Thanks for joining. See you in the next stream. Best programming language for VR. I don't know. Lambda AWS, what do you think everybody says it's the future? I guess he means why do you say it's the future? Everybody and his neighbor says everything is the future. What does it really mean to not look for code to write? Good question. It means that before you write code, you figure out if somebody else has written what you need to write. And if they've written something that you can use, then reuse. That's what I mean by that. Tailwind, Alpine, Laravel, Livewire, thoughts. Tailwind, I have never used, but a friend of mine thinks it's fantastic. Alpine, never used. Laravel, we use it personally. Livewire, I'm not sure. Livewire was a peer-to-peer app back in the day. I don't know if you're talking about that. Ironically, Indeed would be a great recruitment website name. Indeed. Oh yeah, of course. Yeah, I need. That's a good point. That's a good yeah. Carbon only makes sense as a permanent way out of C++. Could be. Hello from France. Love your vids. Learned a lot from your advice. Appreciate it. Oh, merci beaucoup. J'espère que tout ça va bien avec toi, France. C++ doesn't need a new parasite. Can anyone? Okay. Hey, so excited that the Grace the Fat Bishop themselves answering personal question. Wash hands. Will you be doing live streams on a regular basis? You'll see more and more now, unless something else happens. But yeah, what's going on? Yeah, thanks for the likes. If you guys don't mind giving me some thumbs, it's good for the algorithms, you know, lets people know. What do you think about Trongate? I have not used it. But I hear good things about it. I just checked your Super PHP videos playlist and you look pretty young. Without beard, you look the same now. Saw you making live streams these days to teach and connect with people more, get more fun. Yeah. Do you play music? I do. Mostly drums. Do you think that with PHP I could find a remote job in the US? I am from Latin America. Very possible. Make sure you got good spoken skills, good communication skills. How many full stack projects should I build before freelancing or applying for a job? It's up to you. It depends if you want to do full stack work or not. I say the magic number is always 3, but that's me. Lambda is just a compute service, and it's been around for a pretty long time. Anton Rose says, I really love this session, Stef. Hey, my pleasure. Thanks for joining them. Cool. All right. How are we doing for time? Already 43 minutes. Passes like this. What do you think about the commercialization of certain styles? Muay Thai, bring back the fighting theme. Muay Thai, BJJ, etc. That's cool. You know, I used to be a purist about that. I used to think, why are you doing martial arts if you're not there to fight? And then over the years, I said, some people just want to exercise. Some people want to just do a little light exercise or maybe a little light self-defense. So I think there's opportunities in martial arts for people to train at whatever level that they find interesting for them. Why is TypeScript getting so popular? Is it? Isn't that LimeWire? I think you mean LimeWire, not LiveWire. Yeah, that could be true, yeah. Why is Django so popular? I don't know. I don't know how popular it is. I think it's in the Python world, it's the most popular. I guess it's been around for a long time. That has a lot to do with it. I used to feel dumb trying to code, switch to design, learn guitar, and then somehow picked up programming again fairly easily. There you go. Yeah, when you're learning something new, something drastically new, like writing code, you have to, you're really retraining your brain to think in a different way. So you have to give your brain a little bit of time for, so that the new neural connections can be made. And then one day you wake up and it becomes very understandable. Other than the Naked Ape, do you recommend other similar books? Yeah, I could recommend, look up Robert Cialdini. Robert Cialdini, C-I. Just start Robert C-I and it will come up. And he wrote a book called Influence, which is highly, highly influential. Look up another book by a guy named Kahneman called Thinking Fast and Slow. Highly, highly influential. You find those. I'll bring them in the next stream. And they might be linked below if you check. Those are very good. What do you think about coding from the browser directly on cloud with VS Code server or other similar tools? Can you do it even on a tablet? You can do it even on, well, if it can work for you. I've never done it, so I'm not sure how practical it is. But if it works for you, why not? It's 4:03 a.m. here in India. Wow, after hours of internet surfing, going to sleep with good teachings from your uncle. From you, Uncle Stef. Good. Take a good sleep too. Wish you all good days ahead. Thank you very much. Greetings from Canada. What age is too late to learn martial arts? Well, it depends on the style. Like, you're not going to be doing Muay Thai at 65, I doubt. It depends on the style. Some styles are more soft, easier. Some are harder. So it depends on the style. Depends on the style. On the start, first year is better horizontal and vertical knowledge. On the start, first year, better horizontal and vertical knowledge. Better horizontal or vertical knowledge. It's a good question. When you first start out, you want to pick a particular tranche of technology and learn that to a competent level. Not expert, but just competent. And then you can start reaching out. If you spread yourself too thin too early, you never get to the intermediate and advanced concepts of development. So you always be coding like a beginner. So in the beginning, you want to be a little bit more vertical. And then as you get more experience, you can go more horizontal. Any advice for a board to tier C# programmer? I crave real programming engineering. Well, jump into, start looking for other gigs or in areas that you find more interesting, and then train up and start applying for jobs. What would you say is the best way of learning DOM manipulation for JavaScript? Do you have a course? If you do, please let me know. I do. Just go to the link below, go to my store. My JavaScript course teaches lots of DOM manipulation using vanilla JavaScript, for sure. Yeah, I want to go back to Igor's comment. See, that's what happens. When you do anything for long enough, a lot of people can get bored. Happened to me with certain types of programming. I just didn't want to do it anymore. And one time I got burnt out with programming. I just couldn't program anymore. So you don't want to get burnt out. That's okay. It's normal to want to change, and depending on how things are. The key thing, though, is to make sure that when you start programming and you start making that extra money, that you live below your means, and you start saving and investing, so that will give you the opportunity, if you wanted to switch in 2, 3, 4, 5 years, whatever it is, you can. So, yeah. What would you say is the best way of learning dominant? Oh, I did that one already. It's important to do exercise, since we spend so much time sitting down. Where people who hate gyms, martial arts are a great alternative. I personally recommend jiu-jitsu. Yeah, jiu-jitsu is pretty good because it's low impact. But watch out when you're rolling with somebody. Make sure you don't get a crazy person who wants to crank your arms. And don't be afraid to tap out. No point getting strangled or risking damaging one of your joints for pride. If you're not a professional fighter, just train lightly. Don't injure yourself. Hey, Steph, what is AWS main purpose? AWS, Amazon Web Services, it's a very intelligent server technology. And it basically extracts, if you will, a lot of the complexity in terms of scaling that we used to have to build into our applications. AWS will make that easier. So instead of having to engineer into your code ways so that your code could expand, if you will, in terms of performance, if a lot of people start using your web app as an example, AWS provides tools built into their hosting architecture, but it takes care of it for you. This is a very, very high level explanation. But yeah, it's basically, main purpose is to allow for easy scaling, I would say, and management. Aren't easily interchangeable independent stacks like tall better than complete, yet corporate code reliant on Google, Apple, Facebook? Depends your point of view there, Cialdini, there you go, thank you. That's how it's spelled. Robert Cialdini, that's the influence author. He wrote a book called Influence, which in the 80s, which was a seminal book in influence psychology. And he wrote another book recently called Persuasion, which is another interesting book. That's it. That's the one. Yeah, read that. That's going to freak you out. Let me know how you think about when you've read it. Hey, for your knees, was it glucosamine or protein powder you wrote? Glucosamine. Glucosamine did the trick for me. It was pretty amazing. Hey, Steph, should I use Google reCAPTCHA or just use Honeypot for contact forms? Any opinions? Thanks. You might need to do a combination of two. Try one and see how it goes. See if you get a lot of spam or not. If you don't, then you're good. If you do, then try a combination. The spammers are getting more sophisticated these days. If I'm a junior programmer, can I start my own company with freelance or wait for some years to gain experience and found one? Yeah, if you can get the job done, Sebastian, Capitan, why not do it? Go for it. I always watch replays. This is my first time watching live commenting. Love how grounded your teachings are. I appreciate that, Lags. Thank you very much. Thanks. How we doing here? Ooh, 52 minutes. 1 hour in Python equals 7 hours in Java. I haven't done an exact measurement of that, but yeah, Python is far more performant in terms of write time, not runtime. Java will run circles around Python at runtime. But in terms of writing it, it's a lot easier. I'm struggling with MVC architecture. In many tutorial books, everybody has their own criteria. I can't tell where to start when structuring an app. Okay, you start with the views. If you look at, so I've done some videos on this in the past or on YouTube, I'm pretty sure. So when you're putting together an MVC app, for people who don't know, MVC is arguably the most important design pattern in modern development, developed by Smalltalk in, I think it was late 80s. Anyway, so MVC is short for Model View Controller. So model is a database and all the code that associated with that, your business logic. View, of course, are the screens. So in a web app, that would be the web pages, right? Your HTML, your CSS, JavaScript. And the controller is the code that sits between the view code and the model code. It brokers everything. Brokering mean you get a request from a web page. As an example, somebody clicks on a link, boom, it goes to your controller code, that middle layer, and then the controller code will route that to the back end, to your model code, and back and forth. So when you're developing things from scratch, you start with the views. The views will then tell you what the model is going to look like. And then finally, you glue it all together with your middle layer, your controller code. I hope that helps. Where do you think Amazon stock will be in 5 years? I don't know. I don't know where the stock will be. Amazon will still be around strong. It will probably be up, but I'm not giving you any investing advice because I cannot. I'm not an investor. I'm not a professional. What's the word I'm looking for? Consultant in that regard. If I had to guess, I would guess it's going up, but who knows? Seeing a pack of interested students from all over the world than I saw in my whole college. Great interactive teacher you are, and we are going to pin this on our personal favorites for 2 a.m. Well, thank you. Appreciate it. All right. Oh, 5 minutes. All right. I'll be closing up the show soon. It's almost an hour. Are there any frameworks that you have used for end-to-end testing that you can recommend? Oh, I've used Selenium Playwright for end-to-end testing. I haven't looked at this stuff recently. What are we using? And I have to ask my lead developer what we're using in Studioweb. So I don't have any answers for you there. I noticed that I can use my Amazon Prime account when I want to use AWS tools and programming. Oh, there you go. Amazon's, they do good work. You have to give them that much. Model, database, yeah, view, design. Controller, direction in 3D development. How to start a side hustle as a C# dev. C# might be a little bit more difficult because C# is used a lot in enterprise. If you want a side hustle, it'd be easier to do it with the web stack and JavaScript or PHP. Should I learn and Dockers for web developers? Why should you learn Dockers for web developer? You don't have to learn it. Some people learn it, some people don't. It's one of those need-to-nerd technologies. Don't get me wrong, I love virtualization containers. Carbon versus Rust. I don't know much about it to give you an answer there. Obviously, there's got to be a difference because they put out Carbon now. Thank you for the explanation. I'll keep studying about MVC. Hope not to get stuck. You just start designing things, you know? But at the essence, what I described in terms of MVC, that's pretty much what it is. There's variations on implementation, of course, but that's the core of it. The core of it is to separate out your code into logical hemispheres, if you will. All your view code here, all your business logic down here, database here. How much JavaScript would need to grasp React? Just the fundamentals, with a dash of ES6 in there. And that's about it. Learn about the DOM so you can manipulate DOM. Good night, Uncle Stef. All right, good night. Yes, I'll be signing off fairly soon. Shell knowledge required. It depends on the company. Back-end developer, do you need shell knowledge? Learn a little bit. You don't have to be an expert. But it depends on the business. How important is accessibility in web development? Accessibility, people would say it's extremely important. But if you write clean code, making your code accessible is fairly easy. It's like, it's not that difficult. All right, so I think I covered all the questions. All right, everybody. Thanks for coming to stream. I hope I answered all your questions. And yeah, one last one. Will AlphaCode replace programmers? No. AI will not replace programmers anytime soon. So there you go. Oh, here's one last thing. Where is it here? So my intro tune, the jazzy tune that I put out there, this one here, let me play it. Hold on. This stuff. This is actually based on this album. It's a copy of, this is a very famous Miles Davis album called A Silent Way. So you might want to go check that out if you like this. To be clear, this is not A Silent Way. This is some copy. But yeah, that's what this music's all about. And there you go. All right. Have a good evening, everybody. I hope everything is well, and we shall talk soon. I'll leave you with my ASMR. Miles is great. Yeah. This is possibly my favorite Miles Davis album. That or Big Fun. I like Big Fun as well. Miles Davis. Hold on. Big Fun. This is my other. I love this album by Miles Davis. That's a great album. Yeah. What's another good album? Another good album is. Hold on. There's another great album. Bitches Brew. Yeah, you probably get canceled today. All right, so that's good. Thanks for joining the stream, guys. I'll leave you with my little ASMR Cape Elizabeth, Maine clip here. Cheers, guys.